the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Don't underestimate
the power of a single
it could change your whole life.
INCRadio Chatline.
Conversations that matter.
This is what I ask. Let me always dwell in the temple of the Lord till I
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of INC Radio's Chatline, where we have conversations that matter. I am one of your hosts for today, or I should say, I am your host for today. Here, I'm John Valcruz, live here from Rockford, Illinois. And if you haven't seen the title of our topic, we are going to be talking about our teaching moments, right? Or what things can teach us. And joining me here in our conversation for today is some of you might know her, some of you maybe this is your first time watching it, so you probably don't know her yet. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, Tony Rose Valenzuela broadcasting from Farmington Hills, Michigan, where it is kind of cold in the shade. That's why I'm wearing a jacket. But glad to be here for the topic today. What is it teaching me? Lots of things to say about this topic. Lots of things to say, EJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, just wanna comment on the weather since she's in Michigan. So I would say for us here, because we're both in the Midwest, that's an indication it's probably gonna get colder in the next few months. Like if it gets cold in Michigan, you already know it's gonna get cold. You're like our Michigan's like our warning.
Warning sign.
Yeah,
warning sign.
No,
Got
if
it.
gets cold in Michigan, it's probably gonna get cold in other parts of the Midwest. But yeah, so we're gonna be see that's our teaching moment there. Nice segue. But we are gonna be talking about teaching moments. What is this teaching? That's the question that we are gonna try to answer in today's conversation. So Tony, not to drop you off of like the the deep end here.
Deep end.
But let's go into like our maybe toughest, or if not the toughest, one of the toughest teaching moments that we may have experienced. Like, do you have anything maybe recent or anything significant that that comes to mind, like in terms of like a tough like learning moment for you?
There's so many that I could talk about. I feel like there's one for for different milestones or different chapters in my life. One of the most recent ones was probably it has to do with the mental, like internal versus external, whether that's expectations I have of others and myself, or whether that's trying to control how other people see or how other people think of me, and just kind of wrangling with that. That's probably one of my toughest. And the reason why I say it's a tough learning moment is because it's something that has been ongoing. It's not just a singular, like, okay, one and done, like, okay, I learned it. Like, no, it's something that I had to learn, that I'm still learning multiple different things. If that makes sense.
I would say that's no, that's the thing with like learning experiences now. Like, it's not that. No, I mean I don't know for others. So I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I know for some people, and I am including myself in that. I'm including myself in that group. Like, it's like sometimes the lesson has to be learned over multiple sessions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
like you have to like I had to go through it over and over and over until
Yeah.
I finally learned, oh, this is what I'm supposed to learn.
Yeah. It feels like math for me. Like
Mhm.
in like elementary school, I did okay with math, but as they added letters and numbers, it's like it was it wasn't just something that you could get in just one session. Like what you said, I think of it like during class, right? Sometimes you get kind of frustrated that you can't get the concept in that moment because maybe like you see your other classmates, you're like, oh, they get it. Why don't I get it yet? So yeah, that's very true. I can think of it like a that's a good comparison, right? As like a when you're learning different stuff in school, you don't get it right away, right? You don't necessarily get it right away.
And you brought up something interesting there when you mentioned when you used that example of like sometimes your classmates might get it like they might understand it far easier than you did. You know, like they only needed just one, and then they're like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do now. You know, like and for you, it might be longer. You know,
Yeah,
you might need to review it. You know, or you might need a refresher on it. Like let's say if the class is like recorded, I know it wasn't a thing during during our time.
during our yeah
During time like classes weren't recorded, like
yeah.
it would have been helpful back then if classes were recorded because you can just like go back and review it. Like, oh, okay, I probably missed that during
Well,
that.
that's what taking notes was for, right? Like you just had to take as
I
many
was
notes
a
as you
slow
possibly
writer.
could.
I was a
Sorry.
slow writer. I was a slow
Oh
writer.
yeah, yeah. I know
Like
what you.
I'm still writing down the first sentence. The teacher's already on the third sentence. Like, wait, what is it? What did it say for the second one?
And
So
life feels like that too. Life does feel like that too sometimes, right? Where it's like you're trying to keep up, and then you're like, oh no, like I missed that part. Can we go back?
yeah, it comes at you fast, right? Those learning moments, it comes at you fast. So like I would say sometimes you do tend to miss like a couple details, right? That you would need to know. You would need to have to go back to learn. And I think that's no, ironical. Like I think that's for me is the learning moment.
Got
Like
it.
learning to maybe give myself a little bit more uh, leniency, like
Mm,
just in terms of like like what I mentioned earlier of some people they might get it right away, they might learn it, they might learn it right away, they might um, find it a lot easier to digest, but uh, for me, it takes a couple of tries, it takes a couple of lessons before I do like figure out, oh, this is what I'm supposed to learn from this. It wasn't
yeah.
this, it wasn't that,
The
it was
realization.
this thing in particular that I was supposed to learn, and through that, I also learned to give myself a little bit more leniency.
So it sounds like patience for yours, EJ, a little bit. You're talking more like patience in terms of the learning process. Yeah.
Patience for myself, yeah, like
Yeah.
patience for myself because notice I have more patience with other people.
Yeah.
Like if someone does something wrong, I'm like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, like you can give it another try. But when like I internalize a mistake I did, it's almost like it's the end of the world. it's like oh, you messed up, you did like you made this mistake, it's gonna delay everything now, like it's your fault that everyone has to everyone has to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
Like it's like that's how I talk to myself. So that was the learning that was the learning experience for me of like like why are you so mean to yourself?
Yeah. But I just want to give a quick shout out to those who are tuning in with us there in the live chat. Hello to Mario Oka and Nathaniel Russell, as well as Elsa Vela Cruz and
I
Lonnie
think
from
that,
New York. Yeah, that last name is familiar.
yeah, I
EJ.
think that's my dad.
Yeah. Your mom and your dad are both tuning in. So thanks for tuning in with us. All those who are commenting. I know we do have silent listeners too, so we appreciate you. Whatever you can contribute to the discussion is always appreciated because all of us have learning moments, right? And some moments are tougher than others. Some skills are harder to learn than others, depending on just what it is. I'm trying to think of other skills that were kind of hard for me to learn. I think um, patience also in just waiting too, waiting for things to happen, right? In terms of accomplishing things, or wanting to see this thing through, or
Mm.
you know just progress in general, because you were talking about patience in terms of you kind of have that dialogue that starts coming up, but then also patience for just waiting for things to happen, or just waiting for the next thing to be able to develop, right? I think of like when you're trying to create something, and then you just want it to be there already, you want it to be done. It's like, oh, that's
Thing.
the final product, right? Like, yay, it's here. But it's not always as quick as we think it's going to be. So being able to deal with that. And I think what makes learning moments kind of tough is like all those things that we just kind of talked about, right? It's like it's that full of experience of just um,
Mm.
you know what you want, but maybe other things kind of come into the picture. And um, but after you learn the experience, though, or after you go through the experience, you learn a little bit every time. I would say you might not learn everything right in one sitting, but you learn a little bit. Like sometimes I learn about myself too through the process. Just like, oh, I didn't realize that I think that way, or oh, I didn't realize that I behave that way. Has that ever happened to you, EJ? Like after you
Mm.
go through an experience, and
Especially when
clearly you're
someone
supposed to
like
learn something.
mentions, when someone like brings to my attention like the way I react to things, or uh like just something that they noticed, like they said, like for example, like in this, like you always react like this when it comes to um let's say for example when someone brings up like careers, they're like you always react this way, when someone mentions something like that to me, like it makes me kind of like take a step back and go, do I do I react that way? Like I never noticed that that's how I took it. And then like that becomes sort of like your moment to kind of like reflect, right, on like maybe the mindset that you have, and like how you sort of process things, like
Mhm.
uh sorry, I kind of lost I kind of lost
Well,
it.
I have a question
Yeah.
actually. I have a question for you, because sometimes we may not even realize that that's a learning moment. Have you ever
Mm.
had that experience where you're kind of like you're going through it, and you just feel the challenge, you feel that it's difficult, but then once you actually take a step back, it's only then that you realize, oh yeah, I think I was supposed to be learning how to be patient when this was happening. Or maybe I
Mm.
was. Have you had something like that? I feel like I've had moments like that where it's I didn't realize that it was a learning moment right away. Maybe all that I was focused on was that, oh, this feels hard, or this sucks.
Mhm.
You just kind of feel the emotions, which is normal, right? That's very human to feel those things, to feel those negative feelings. But then actually realizing, like, oh, this isn't actually an opportunity for me to learn something. Has it happened to you at all recently?
Like in
Like,
hindsight, yes, like definitely. Where when you're going through something, sometimes it's hard to see what it's supposed to teach you, right?
mhm.
Because you're so ingrained like in the moment. I forget which or which show did I mention this? I'm trying to remember now. I'm trying to remember, like when you're, like I said, you're sort of like ingrained. You're in the moment. High school, the high school thing. I mentioned, like when you're in high school, you feel like everything about high school is so serious.
Oh, because
Like,
you're so close to it. Is that what you mean? Because you're so
yeah,
close to it. Yeah.
you're so close. You feel like that's everything. Like what you're, like where you are in life, you feel like that's everything. Like this is what's gonna shape me.
Mm.
This is the uh, like these are the qualities, these are the values. Like this is the mindset that I'll uphold for the rest of my life. Like you think that that's it. That's the end game there. That's the end game right there. But after you go through it, like only then you start to kind of like see, you kind of like see the different aspects of it. Like it wasn't everything. It wasn't everything. And actually, like I came out a different person than when I first encountered that. Like because you might have picked up new habits, new ways of thinking, right? New outlooks in like situations,
Hmm.
new ways to deal with it.
Perspectives.
Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. New perspectives,
Yeah.
right? New techniques to deal with this particular type of like situation, right? And all of that happens. I would say all of that happens in hindsight, right? There was something that I came across the other day that said that life can only be understood backwards. And first,
Well,
I
that's
did.
kind of why I was asking because I do agree that it does happen in hindsight, but there's never been a moment where you were in the thick of it and you're like, wait, I think this is a learning moment.
Because it was when you realize that it feels like the problem isn't a problem anymore, right?
Hmm.
Like when you come to that realization of uh of oh, like this is what I'm supposed to learn. Like the process then becomes a lot easier because like it's like let's say in I don't know what to call it. Like if you're watching, let's say you're watching a horror movie. You're watching a horror movie. It's scary, right? It's scary if you don't know what's gonna come out. But imagine a horror movie where they show like they show like the bad guy like in the background sneaking around sneaking around. Like it wouldn't be scary if you can see it, right? Like it's scary if the camera just pans maybe behind the character and all of a sudden there's all of a sudden there's someone behind them. But if you can see the person like sneaking sneaking up behind them, like it won't scare you. Like it'll scare the
True.
but you won't get scared because you can already see it.
Well,
Like
the reason why I asked that is because it speaks to me in terms of the importance of self awareness. Because it's happened to me more lately where I take a pause. I kind
mm,
of try to take a pause when I'm going through something difficult. I say my prayers, right? As Christians, we say our prayers. Or sometimes, like, after you say your prayers, you talk to someone, and then you could still be going through that experience, right? That tough moment. And it's
mm,
as you're having that dialogue that you kind of realize, like, oh, okay, I kind of get it, right? So it's like that additional perspective is what makes the learning moment. It gets you to kind of put a pause on the stuff that you're feeling,
mm.
which is sometimes something that we need, right? To be able to see things with more clarity, to be able to see it and to kind of understand. Because I feel like I've had moments like that lately where I've just kind
Like
of
you had someone like, kind of like pull you out of like the emotion you're maybe feeling like at
hmm
the moment, right? Like
yeah.
emotions are good, but sometimes they
Yeah.
can cloud, right? They can cloud.
Yeah.
Uh,
If it becomes
yeah.
if it overwhelms you, or if it becomes too much that you just get stuck there, like that
Mm-hmm.
idea of like rumination, or just you're too into it. And
Become focused on like how you're feeling, right?
yeah, it's good to a point to kind of get it out, of course, but not to the point of you just stay stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's ways of like processing it, and everybody processes it differently, but I've noticed that, at least for myself, that when I'm able to kind of look at it from a third person perspective, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at myself outside, like, what
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
you
like
can kind of
outside
get
the
the
situation. Yeah,
you know,
so
get
it's kind of like you're like, oh, okay, so that makes more sense. Like this happened to me so many times this week, just like talking to people, like, oh, I think this is what I didn't tell them, but I was like, I think this is what I was supposed to learn out of out of that situation. And I noticed that your dad put there in the live chat. This is actually um one that we don't talk about enough. It's kind of like moments that scare us, right? He's
Mm.
mentioning about learning how to drive in the snow, and that speaks to different levels of things that have scared us, or of course we're not experts. I know there's different levels to that of how being able to deal with stuff that scares you, and facing it, like
Mm.
that is tough.
I'd say like at the moment, if you wanna hear what the story is, it's there in the
Yeah.
it's there in the live chat. But like I would say at that, like the moment it happened, we couldn't even react.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't even like react, and I think it took us a while to process, to process it. But I remember, like it, like at the moment, it just felt like my mind just felt like very like clouded. Like like I couldn't process what happened until like we got home, and I was like, it started to come up and I was like, wow. Like the of course at the moment I wasn't even laughing. It was just I like I couldn't believe I couldn't believe that couldn't believe like that happened. And again, if you wanna see the story, it's there in the it's there in the live chat. But what I do wanna know, what I do kind of wanna mention, or maybe go back a little bit on is like let's say like when you've had that experience, like you were mentioning, right? Like these past couple days, you've had conversations with like people. You've sort of gained new perspectives on the problems. I know it's still a bit early to ask this, but would you say that you learned you learned something, or would you say that it changed? Would you say that it changed? Maybe not just your perspective, but other aspects as well.
I would say so, because the way that I've kind of looked at um, the experiences now is shout out to my mom, because my mom is really I'm grateful to have the kind of relationship with her that we can talk about things like this, like in this way,
Mm.
because she doesn't um, you know how like sometimes I don't want to say like pacify, or like she's not the type, she'll tell me things straight, I guess is the best
Mm.
the best way that I
No
can say it. Like
sugarcoating.
she won't try to like say something that's not true, like just to tell me, you know just to make me feel good about something. Like when that's how I can trust her comments, because I know that when she's telling me that I'm doing something good, that's real. And then when I'm doing something that's bad, that's also real. So
Mm.
I give a lot of credit to my mom in the way that um, we're able to kind of have those conversations, and I'm able to learn a lot through the things that we talk about. And she's always the one that's kind of reminding me of that in every situation, um, it's always going to show you something about yourself, about um, the situation, possibly about other people that are involved in the situation. Because um, even like when it's between other people, maybe initially in that moment, like let's say you're upset at someone, and you
Mm.
might have like those feelings, but then you find out something later on that maybe contributed to the reason why things happened the way that it did. Like let's say you and I had an argument, right? And for
Mm.
whatever reason we got into an argument, and then what I didn't know was that you had lost your job that same day, right? But
Mm.
I didn't find out about it until later. So it's kind of like that stuff in that way too, where it's not just learning about the skill sets that you need, or the things that um, like we talked about patience for
Mm.
ourselves and for other people, but even learning about other people, and learning how to um, deal with certain situations, and not being so quick to, I guess, move with our emotions, and which is tough. Which is tough.
No, I'm with you there because that is something that I had to I had to learn as well multiple times. Like I had to be reminded of it multiple times to not just react based on like how I might be feeling like at the moment. Because I don't know what I don't know what the other person's going through. Right? They may be grieving something that I'm not aware of. Right? They may be reflecting on like moments of their life that they need, they needed to reflect on, and then I'm focused solely on like how I may be feeling at that moment. That uh like every time I go back to it, or I look at it like in hindsight after I figure, after I've found out like what was happening, what they were going through uh, during during the moment that I was arguing with them. Like it always makes me feel bad. It's like, it leaves like this sort of like I don't like this feeling. I don't like this feeling like in my chest afterwards, where I kind of
Regret.
regret. Yes, regret. Yeah, I regret. I regret reacting that way. I regret saying this mean thing to them when like they probably didn't need that at the moment. They needed help. They probably approached me first because they they thought they could they thought they could confide in me. So that's what pushed me to be more mindful of like how I react. Like even I think I mentioned this before. Like I wanted to be the type of person where even if I'm not feeling the best at the moment, I don't want to take it out on someone else. Like I want to be able to still be kind to someone, even if I'm not feeling at my best. Because I feel like that's gonna reflect more than just the moment. I think that's the lesson for me there. It's gonna reflect more than just the moment of like how I'm feeling at that moment. If I treat them this way just because I feel bad, it's gonna reflect even during the times of like how like I would try to treat them when I'm feeling good, and they might not trust me as much anymore because you know they feel like, oh, he reacts, or his mood kind of depends on how he's feeling that day. Whether or not he's gonna be mad depends on how he's feeling that day. I don't want to be that kind of person. So I like for me, that's what what I had to learn as well. But oh, sorry. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, in general, learning is can be challenging, right? Depending on whatever it is, and the stuff that we're talking about, it's not just the typical things that you learn in school. Like learning stuff in school could be hard, right? Especially like when you're in college and you're trying to balance all those different things. Like if that stuff is already hard, how much more the life skills that we try to like implement in our life, all these different things that we're kind of talking about, navigating through all of that. It's not something that happens overnight, right? It's not a light switch. And sometimes, um especially as Christians, we believe that um God has designed our life in a certain way, and all the things that happen to us, um, whether we see it in the moment or not, right? There's something to gain from it, to whether it's a learning moment or um, something for us to kind of reflect on and see how it will affect our life. Like, because I like what you mentioned, that um, in spite of what you may be going through, you as a person and your character, you don't want to let that affect like how you show up and who you are. And that's a tough skill to learn because sometimes you don't feel like talking to people or you don't feel like um,
I
being
don't feel like being nice today.
rude. Yeah, like yeah, sometimes we have days like that. But when you can teach yourself how to, I guess the word there would be like self-disciplined or like self-controlled and like all of those things are tough skills to learn. And it makes me think about what makes them hard to learn. Like what makes things hard to learn for us. Like what are things how what am I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying. What what makes it hard for you to learn things? I guess that's the way.
Okay, okay. I get what you're asking me now. Then, I'd say, I would be the first to say this pride or ego. I guess it's
Mm.
like that's something I'll acknowledge that I have.
I think we all have,
Yeah,
you know,
like
levels
I
of it.
have that, and sometimes when like even when it's sort of like being thrown at me already, like like this is the lesson you're supposed to be learning. I'm like, I don't think so. Like I think I already know that. You know what?
Yeah.
There's more to it that I haven't that I haven't figured out. There's more to it that I still don't know that makes it harder for me to it makes it harder for me to learn it because my mind is close to that possibility of like, well, I think I know. I think I already know enough, or I think I already know my lesson about this, So, uh, like, thanks but no thanks. Like that sort of like thought of like uh that sort of thought of like I already know like what I'm supposed to know.
Right.
So, uh, like, what else? What else am I supposed to learn here? Right?
It kind of reminds me of like when, at least when I've seen like little kids, right? When they want to do stuff on their own, they want to be able to show. That's what I was thinking of. Like the way that you were describing that, it's just like, no, I can do it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can do it. But then as like maybe you're an aunt and uncle, or even if it's your child, you want to be able to help them through it because you know that they don't really like you think
Like
you do, but not
their
yet.
their view of it is just like it's gonna be this easy, but we're like, well, you don't
Uh,
even know how to.
yeah. Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
like let's say you're a parent and your kid, you buy your kid a skateboard and you're like, oh, I want to do all these, like, I want to do all
Mhm.
these tricks. It's gonna be easy. You just copy what they're doing,
Yeah.
what they're doing like on TV, and you're like, well, that like that takes years of like it takes years
Yeah.
of practice, training, it takes years of experience, and you have this child who thinks that uh, I'm just gonna copy what they do and then it's gonna be it's just gonna be that easy. But
Right.
so it's not it's not it's
And
not.
we don't think about that stuff for the different qualities that we've mentioned, right? Like when we think about patience. I keep bringing up patience because it's one of the ones that has always challenged me just because you think when you I had this conversation with my mom yesterday.
Mm,
There's been moments where I will think that I've mastered the thing. Like, I got this. I got this, right? You
mm,
will get humbled so quick. Like, so quick. It's happened to me so many times where it's like in your mind you think you
yeah, I
have it,
figured this
right?
out.
You have it. I don't need to worry about it.
Mhm,
That can be true like sometimes, but not
mhm,
for everything because there's always something new to learn. That's what I realized in every situation. Even if you think that you've gone through that thing before, it's like you've gone through that thing before, but it was different circumstances then.
yeah,
It was different situation then. You were a different person then than you are now. So there might be something that's you're supposed to learn different out of the situation. So I try not to treat because I don't want to get humbled like that, right? Like I try not to treat it anymore like, oh, no, I got this. I've done that before. No, like
Mm-hmm.
When I go through situations now, I try to remind myself like this is a learning mode. Like there's something for me to learn here.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't do that, then it kind of it closes off, like the potential of what you could have learned. And it speaks to what you were saying earlier, EJ, because I've been like that too, where there are moments where, when you're going through the process and you think that you should know it already, right? Because you've been doing it for X amount of years or whatever. But there's always something more still, even if you've been doing it for a long time, even if you've been I learned even from those who are younger than me, who are like going through the process of like a similar process. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I didn't know you could do it that way. And then but it speaks to what you said up in terms of that part of the reason why it's challenging sometimes is because ego, right? You get into that mindset of I got it. Like I know.
Like I've
You
been, I've been through this, like, like just to use like a sort of like a metaphor, like let's say like a swimming pool. You're like, oh, I know, I've been in a swimming pool before. I've been in a swimming pool that's like 6 feet deep, like before. But then you take one step, and you're like, oh, this pool's 10 feet deep. And it looks like the same thing.
yeah.
Outside of the pool, it looks like the same thing. They're both swimming pool, but oh, there's so much more depth to this
Yeah.
to this situation than
And you won't know it, right? You won't know it sometimes until you're actually there. Like
mm,
you can see the situation from afar before you get into it. Like and then once you're actually in it, you're like, "Oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be." Exactly. Because you came in with expectations that you already knew how to handle it already. And like there are things like of course like when I'm driving a car, right? I'm
mm,
not going to forget how to drive a car, but I shouldn't just drive on the road like I'm great at driving, I'm a great driver, but there's still so many other factors that can come into the picture where it's like some other people could do something even if you're driving great, someone else could still do something, it could be by accident or whatever happens,
and
that
then
you need
it's
to be
gonna
ready, that
yeah,
you need to be
it's gonna be on
prepared,
you. Like
right?
how can like yes, you're a good driver. You can get from point A to point B, but can you
Yeah,
react to like an unexpected like situation?
situation, yeah.
Right? Like let's say the car in front of you suddenly hits their brake, right? Like would you be able to also react and hit your brake on time? Like what if someone, like you have a green light, you're going, and then there's another car that just like, like they try to chase like the red light,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it happens and you can't control those things,
Mhm.
right? But what you could control is you being prepared.
Right, yeah.
I think preparedness is one of the things that I've learned so much in terms of, especially like through
Mm,
INCRadio. You always have to be prepared for anything that could that could happen.
mhm,
I've learned that from so many of my friends, my mentors. There's there's always something that could come up, and that self awareness and alertness in every situation, not just kind of being complacent with like, oh yeah, like it's fine. I know how to do it,
mhm.
but you never know what situation could present itself that would require you to shift or do something different from what you've done before.
That's what it would say. But like, what makes it a lot easier is when you decide to put like that pride aside, that ego aside, and like you humble yourself, and because when you humble yourself, you also open yourself up to learn,
Yeah.
right? Instead of going, oh, I already know this. You kind of like, yes, I have some skills. I did experience something similar to this, so I know some things about it. But you ask God, right? What am I supposed to learn about this one? Then, like what do you want me to learn from this experience? Then, right?
It
And
happens all the time with people,
mm,
right?
yes, that
Like,
makes that experience a whole lot smoother
yeah,
than trying to like force what into this to fit into this situation that looks similar. It looks similar on the outside. It might look similar on the surface, but it's completely different. I think sometimes that's why sometimes that doesn't work. right? Because you're trying to like fit a solution into a problem that looks similar in surface, but it's an entirely it's an entirely different situation altogether. Right?
And it could also be that you didn't learn what you were supposed to learn from the
That's
from
it.
the previous from
That's
the
it.
previous situations, right? It's like,
Mhm.
because I laugh at I'm laughing about this, but it's both a serious and I laugh at it because it's we have to be
Mhm.
able to laugh at ourselves sometimes because we make mistakes, right?
Yes.
Like going into a situation, you pray for things like I pray for patience, right? Like
Mhm.
I pray for patience, but we forget that in order to gain those skills, there's an opposite the possibility of different things, but also managing expectations. Because going into the process of learning different skills, I know we mentioned the stuff, school or things that we can do, but even just characteristics as an individual. We think that it's something that has to be done, quickly, or it's something that has to be done, um, you know, once I hit that, like I should have it, but it doesn't always work out that way. And when you kind of modify those expectations to be like what you said earlier, more patient for yourself, or more compassion, right?
Mhm.
You kind of lessen the friction a little bit, the frustration that might come, because it can get frustrating when you don't learn the things that you're supposed to learn. But that awareness of being able to be in the situation and seeing, like, oh, I guess this is what I'm supposed to learn. Like,
Mhm.
I guess this is what God's teaching me here. You won't really think about that if you don't have that open-mindedness, right? Or if you don't have that humility.
And I just want to clarify, it's not like you're dropping right what you already know about
Yeah.
the situation. It's not saying, okay, I learned this from from that situation that's similar to this, but like Tony and EJ said this in chat line, so I guess I don't need it anymore. Like no, it's just to clarify. It's not that you're letting go of what you already know. It's you have it. You have what you know, but uh, you know that what you know you know that that's not gonna be the you know that that's not going to be the full solution, right? Like like you, it's carrying what you do know, but being open to learning more of like learning maybe a different lesson, a different perspective, right? That you can add into that experience that you know that you already have, right? And like you sort of get to like build up like this experience that uh, see the way I see like those teaching moments is that it's preparing you for something, like maybe for your I know it's preparing you for your future if you're if you're one of like maybe in the younger in the younger crowd.
We're still young, okay, EJ. We're still young.
I count us in that as well.
Okay.
I count us in that as well. Like I would say if you're not like what's the settled down, if you're not settled down yet,
Mm,
like I feel like that's like what you're learning now. Like maybe like we said, it's a humbling experience. A lot of it is like if you have a lot of pride, if you have a lot of ego, it's gonna humble you so hard. But that's what you're supposed to learn. It's like sure at the moment it might be embarrassing, it might be humiliating, but that's the point. That's what it's trying to teach you. Be humble. Have humility and be open to learning that. Then like for me that's I'm telling you guys this because that's for me that's what I had to learn. I had to learn to be humble, to have humility that I don't like. I might feel like I know, but I don't. And that's what's opened me to uh, to learn. That's what's opened me to gain more experience that I would have if I wasn't or if like insisted uh, that I knew it already. Right? So then, lastly, you know, like I just want to get your thoughts on this, Tony, and there in the live chat as well. Is why should we look for those opportunities to learn? We kind of touched on it already, but why shouldn't we?
What I realized is that in the different things I've experienced, um, I didn't think I would learn the way that I did, if
Mm,
that makes sense. So there were times where I felt like I was alone, if that
mhm,
makes sense. I wasn't. There were people there, right,
mhm,
to support me and to back me up. But what it taught me in hindsight, like what we mentioned earlier, what it taught me in hindsight was to um, be braver, to kind of stand up and do something, as opposed to just thinking that I'll just rely on like these people forever. Like I feel like the best way to describe it is, like when you're in a group of family or like good friends, and
mhm,
you're you're afraid to step out and do something because you think that you don't have what it takes, or the mental chatter, or whatever it may be.
mhm,
But then God puts you in a position where you are the one that has to move, or you are the one that has to do something. And it will only be in that moment, when you're in that situation, where you will learn what you're capable of with God's help. And I've had series of moments like that throughout my life, where it's not how I expected to learn, but that's how I ended up learning, and I didn't realize it until later on.
mhm,
So what I wish would have happened is that I realized it already in that moment, that I went into those situations thinking, you know what, I'm going to learn something from this, and this will benefit me in the future. Because that's exactly what happened. There's been so many things that I've been able to experience, that it doesn't mean that they were easy. It doesn't mean that I didn't get sad, or that I didn't get upset or frustrated, but coming out of it, it it made me so much more resilient. It made me so much more just braver to take on things, and knowing that in those situations, when you're looking for those opportunities, like what you said, it kind of shows you too that God is there, because you realize that this is happening with some kind of intention for my life. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to let the chance pass by? Am I going to just stay like with the mindset that I have now? Like, you should be able to kind of check on yourself, and see, like, is the way that I've been approaching the situation what God would expect, right? That's what we always want to do as Christians, that when we approach situations, that's always our callback, our basis. Like, is this something that God is he expecting me to react the way that I've been reacting? If not, what should I do instead? That's how I see opportunities now, because
mhm.
and sometimes you won't realize it right away. Sometimes it does take a prayer, it does take a conversation with a friend for that to happen. But it's like, even down to the ways that you just think, like changing the way that you think and perceive situations. Um, it really helps. It really helps to kind of think like, if I am going through this, what could I learn from it? And not shying away from it, or not running away from it, which sometimes we might want to do. But looking for those opportunities, I feel like has brought me closer, not just in my faith, but even to the people around me, because it's shown me that it's shown me things that I didn't know about them until I went through the experience.
Mhm.
Um, if I can just share, like, because today is a special day for us, if I can just share with everyone, this is me being very vulnerable right now.
Oh, yes.
Um, Today was the last day that my mom had her treatment for her illness. And I didn't expect to learn the things that I learned. Like,
Mhm.
like you would think that resilience and all those other things are things that you think about in a situation, but there's so much more to it. There's so much more to it when you're able to open that up and thinking about not just the situation you're in, but others as well. Like being able to the situation that me and my mom went through, it taught me how to empathize with others and the things that they're going through. It taught me how love can be such a powerful force if you're committed to something, that you're committed to seeing something through. And you won't see those things unless you give time to look for it. Sorry, really windy here. And you need to look for it, because if you don't look for it, then you're cheating yourself out of so much.
Mhm.
And part of that too is also gratitude, because if you really think about the opportunities that we've been given as Christians, we believe that that's from God. So why wouldn't you be happy with the things that are happening to your life, knowing that if God is on your side, this is an opportunity for me to step up and push through this in a way that wasn't expected. Because some other people might expect, like, oh yeah, like I understand, like, she won't do that anymore because she's going through that thing.
Mhm.
But that's all the more reason to show up, and it's an opportunity through those learning moments to show God, like, I believe that you're there, and I'm going to move in that way too. Sorry,
Mhm.
am I cutting off?
No, I think I did. Because both you and Kuya and our Kuya Tech paused for me,
Like,
so I think it was my end.
yeah. So learning is such an awesome experience. I won't say happy experience, because you will go through tough moments, like
Mhm.
moments that make you want to cry, because people get tired. People get tired all the time. And it's frustrating to be tired. But the thing that will carry you through is when you have the hope of what you're after, right? What is your end goal through the thing that you're experiencing? What are you after in that situation? Like, this may be a hard situation, but you commit to yourself, your conviction is, this is what I want to get out of it. And then you hold on to that. Because even if you're tired, right? Even if you really want something, won't you still keep going? Won't you still keep pushing it and using your resources and using what you can to be able to meet that end goal? I'm not saying that it's easy, but there's so many things that we go through in this life, and I don't know if I'm rambling now. And I just
No,
feel
no. I'm like absorbed, like listening to what you're saying.
I just feel that there's so much to, yeah. uh Manly Andaya, I don't know what to call you, Emmanuel, Manly Andaya put there in the live chat. Every day is a learning process and experience. And if we don't cling to those, if we don't grab those opportunities, then we'll stay stagnant. And if you think that there's nothing that's left to improve on, I don't know what to tell you. Like, because there's always something to improve on. There's always something that we can do better. There's always something that we can aspire for, right? And I'm not talking about aspirations in terms of your wealth. I mean, like that stuff is great, but even just you as a person, like being able to ask yourself, how can I learn to be a better daughter? How can I learn to be a better friend? How can I learn to be, for those who are married, to be a better spouse? If you're not looking for those opportunities to be better, right? Because that's what it is when you learn, right? It's getting yourself to be in a better position than you were before in your skill set, whatever it may be. You are the one who's cheating yourself out of that stuff. So that's why it's important to look for the opportunities, because it won't always be as obvious. It won't be in a classroom setting where like, okay, this is what we're going to teach you today. We're going to teach you about patience. No,
Mhm.
it doesn't
But they have to learn.
doesn't show that way. It's a life is a classroom that is so dynamic and so out there. God will show you so many different things, but you have to be the one to open your eyes to it and be willing. You have to be willing to be like, okay, if this is what I gotta learn, let's go through it. And you can cry, and you can have your moments where it's like you're tired,
Mhm.
but you say your prayers. You feel and trust that you're being backed up by the people who love you, who support you, and of course God. And then you move, right? We always have to keep moving, because that's the moment when you would say that you failed because you stopped. Why would you stop? Why would you stop? Keep learning all the time, always. There's always something, EJ. There's always something. So,
I really like that. I really like what you've said, especially that reinforcement there in the end, right? Of like, why should you stop, right? When you're already going through it, right? You're already in the process of learning. Why stop now? Keep learning, like what you've said, right? Open your eyes, open your heart, right? Right to that to that opportunity to learn something, and always ask when you go through these situations, when you go through those tough times. Maybe you're going through it right now. Like always ask, what is this teaching me, right? And again, thank you, thank you, Tony, for not just for sharing like your thoughts, for joining here in the panel. Of course, they're in our team live chat as well. We love seeing you guys there in our team live chat, and we enjoyed the comments that you share with us, the stories you entrust with us, and your insights as well, because it brings us different perspectives that we might, like that we here in the panel, might not even considered, right?
we're
And
still young.
yes, we're still young, we're still learning, so, right? And we do hope that you also enjoyed joining us in our here in our conversation. We do hope that this has been a conversation that mattered to you as well. And we do hope to see you again in our next episode of INC Radio Chatline. So until next time, until next Friday for us here, or Saturday if you're in the Philippines, we will see you guys again, and have a great weekend and the rest of your week as well. Goodbye, everyone.
Looking for more conversations that matter? INC Radio Chatline, Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific or 11 p.m. Eastern at INC Radio DZEM 954 on YouTube.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo.